Hello there. The chairman of Marks Spencer Group PLC is the latest business leader to criticize the UK government's economic policies. Archie Norman called the post-Brexit trade facilitation plans presumptuous and confusing. Norman, who is also a former Conservative MP, has urged the Foreign Secretary not to consider separate labelling for goods sold in Northern Ireland in the talks with the EU. The crushing costs of a labelling regime would increase prices and reduce consumer choice, further disadvantage UK farmers and suppliers, and hamper the ability of UK retailers to compete in other international markets. That's what Norman wrote according to excerpts obtained by The Telegraph. The simple fact is that retailers are already working with real-time digital information day and night. With one click, we can locate our products, be it in a depot, in transit, or in a store. In a digital age where a customer can check into a store with a tap of their phone and locate their order in less than 60 seconds, it is surprising that the government and the EU have rewound for decades to seek an expensive solution to discuss with stickers and labels. Both the UK and the EU are keen to reach an agreement on the Northern Ireland Protocol before the 25th anniversary of Northern Ireland's historic Good Friday Agreement in April, and they want to break the deadlock on Brexit. The anniversary of the historic Good Friday Agreement is important, but however, Northern Ireland Secretary Chris Heaton-Harris stressed on Wednesday that London is not setting any deadlines for talks on the controversial trade deals. And the Northern Irish DUP is currently blocking the workings of Power Sharing's installment and has made it clear that it will not allow a return to decentralisation unless significant changes are made to the protocol. Yeah, the dinosaur guys. An EU-UK deal would not guarantee the restoration of decentralisation, as the DUP could ultimately reject it and continue its dormant boycott. Well, Norman said in May that the EU's proposal for managing the protocol were highly bureaucratic and quite useless, as UK food standards were equivalent to or higher than those set by Brussels. Yeah, and will they stay that way? He said on BBC's Radio 4's Today programme at the time that the bloc is proposing that the same background checks, including veterinary checks, that are required for the Republic of Ireland, are also required for goods sent to Northern Ireland from other parts of the UK. And yes, that's correct, as long as they are in the customs union in a single market. By the way, that means that every stick of butter in a sandwich has to have an EU veterinary certificate. So it's highly bureaucratic and quite pointless, he said. But he's an idiot because he doesn't understand it, obviously. Norman's recent criticism of the government plans is baffling after billionaire businessman James Dyson last week accused Rishi Sunak of a short-sighted approach to the economy. The founder and chief engineer of Singapore-based multinational tech company Dyson urged Sunak and the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Jeremy Hunt, to use the spring budget to incentivize private innovation and demonstrate his ambitions for growth. And something more in reality is that representatives of the UK, Gibraltar, and the EU are meeting today to seek a way out of the deadlock over the status of Gibraltar, a former British naval base on the southern tip of Spain. Trade and border crossings between Spain and Gibraltar have so far been regulated on the basis of ad hoc agreements, and there is no fixed deadline by which agreement on a new treaty must be reached. However, general elections are due this year in both Spain and Gibraltar, and political analysts believe a coalition of the Conservative People's Party, which currently leads the opinion polls, and the nationalist Vox Party in relation to the status of Gibraltar would take a far tougher stance than the socialist government of Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, which is on duty now. Last week, the Cross Frontier Group, a coalition of trade unions and business associations from Spain and Gibraltar, warned that the current state of affairs on this matter and the uncertainty caused by the conflicting news from the negotiating process is stressing the citizens of our region, which we believe should be ended immediately. The group also called for the lifting of border crossings for citizens and goods. That's what the group said in a letter. But the elections in Spain really can make this much harder. And the British side obviously either doesn't care, as they often do, or they don't understand what politics means and what's happening in Spain. That's when you don't look outside your bubble. It will make it harder if there is not finally a full agreement. And they, in some weeks ago, and I made a video on this, they were quite optimistic. But in case of Brexit negotiations, optimism is not always well served. Brexit is a gift that keeps on giving, and a gift that keeps on giving videos as well. And I'll see you in my next video. I'll be back.